All right, welcome to Return on Podcast. I'm Tyler, and we're doing a summer school series called Gold Nuggets for E-commerce brands. We're going to dive into a few books that have really changed my life as a business owner. And because I'm a nerd and I read a lot and I do these little micro book reports anyway, I thought I would pull out the best ones and do the shortest version for you, my audience here at ROP. So we're going to give you 3 nuggets, 2 application stories, and 1 game-changing hack, all in less than 10 minutes. Are you ready? Let's dive in to today's discussion. All right, in today's summer school episode, I want to talk about the Exitpreneur's Playbook by Joe Valley. Now, Joe Valley is one of the partners at the e-com brokerage you guys have probably heard of called Quiet Light Brokerage. And I've actually known Joe for about 5 years. So it's funny, I've done this series. This is going to be, I think, 5 out of 6, so 6 total. I read 50 books a year sometimes, or at least 25. And so I've read a lot of books in the last 5 years, and this is the only one that made this top 6 that's an author that I know personally. Joe's definitely one of the good guys, does a good job with his team, I think based out of Charlotte. And so, one day he calls me, maybe after we recorded a podcast together. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to send you a book. I want you to check it out." And he sent it to me. And I don't know if you guys are like this, but normally if I get a book from a friend, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll read. I want to support you." And I'll scan through it, read as quickly as I can, and give him some encouragement. "Hey, way to go, bud. Good job." They just couldn't do this with Joe's book. When Joe sent me the Exitpreneur's Playbook, which I still have here in my office, I literally read it cover to cover, marked it up, read it again. It was so damn good, I couldn't just scan it. I couldn't skim it. And so I do want to add it to this top 6 books for kind of scaling, growing e-commerce brands, because it is so exactly what an Amazon seller needs to hear, or what a Shopify dominant seller needs to hear in order to really construct a business that they can get maximum value from when they go to exit. And so, super quick summary here. Joe's going to walk you through how to plan for an exit early, how to properly value these kinds of businesses. Hint, hint, it's not just profit. There's a lot that goes into valuing them. And then he kind of talks about he calls them the 4 pillars of value that kind of drive either anxiety for a buyer or their willingness to pay you more. And we'll talk more about those pillars here in a second. He talks about how to structure the deal. He talks to you how to get ready. He talks to you how to get your accounting in order, which is obviously something I'm pretty passionate about. And guys, I just want to say this again. This information, okay, we're in a crap market right now for selling. I get it. But this information on how do I organize my business specifically in the e-commerce realm so that I can get as much value as possible when I go to market, maybe in a couple of years, you've got to read the Exitpreneur's Playbook. So let me give you some nuggets. Nugget number 1, I alluded to this earlier, but he breaks it down into 4 pillars of value. It's not just profit, right? I mean, yes, you got to learn how to calculate SDE. He'll walk you through that. You have to understand what that really means. How do you actually define profit for a year? But then he talks about these 4 pillars as being the things that actually drive either happiness or anxiety for your buyers. The first one is risk, right? If a buyer is going to look at my business, what's the likelihood that profit's going to disappear? If you were selling dumbbells 3 years ago during the heat of the pandemic, a savvy investor a year later would probably think, "Oh boy, selling home fitness equipment may not be as good post-pandemic." That would be a risk, right? So that's the first pillar is risk. The second one is growth. Do we have some consistent, strong growth in the business, revenue and profit? That one's kind of intuitive. Third one is transferability. This is a really big deal in my business, right? I mean, I own an accounting firm. And if I don't have great processes and great people, I may never be able to sell this business because it's Tyler Jefcoat and I'm the brand. In an e-commerce business, you could still have the dependencies. Let's say that you also manufacture the product. I have several 7-figure sellers that are friends that still have a pile of friends just manufacturing the actual product. That's going to be an issue when you actually go to market and try to sell it. So transferability was the third pillar. And the fourth pillar was documentation. Do you have the stuff organized in such a way that you can get to it and that a future due diligence team could get to it, in terms of how to run the business, in terms of what the SOPs are, but also in terms of good accounting. Obviously, I'm passionate about good bookkeeping. But Joe and I work on these deals all the time. And if you have bad documentation, you get bad valuations. Case closed, right? Second nugget, bookkeeping is crucial. He really does go into great lengths to talk about how important it is to have not just generally great documentation, but really, really clear financials. And maybe because I own a bookkeeping firm, just to add to this, I think if you start viewing your financials kind of like a storytelling mechanism, does it tell a true story? Does it tell a understandable story? And is the narrative one that makes sense? And if it doesn't, or let's just put it this way, the more true and believable and understandable and positive the narrative and the story are, the higher valuation you're going to get for the business. So bookkeeping is crucial. Nugget number 3, deal structure is almost as important as the deal amount. So everyone kind of has a number. Hey, I want to get $5 million when I exit, or I want to get $1 million when I exit. I just want to have a 7-figure exit. Maybe you have a number in mind. But understanding whether you're going to get paid now, and I'll even give you a personal example here. When I sold my first company back in 2017, like I didn't get paid the majority of that sale up front. I got a little bit of it up front, then I got paid a little bit over time, and then I got a lump sum at the end of a couple of years. And, in hindsight, I think I probably would have done better to negotiate more of that money up front. It didn't harm us, but it didn't give me nearly as much runway as I wanted to start this second business. So just know that deal structure is almost as important as the deal amount. All right, let me give you a couple of stories. I can give you a happy story, and I'm going to give you a sad story, and I can actually make these personalized because these are going to be 2 seller accountant clients. Lynn was an Amazon dominant seller with a complex catalog, lots of products, lots of variants. And it was a hot mess of bookkeeping and documentation when we got involved. My team helped her clean up books, gave her some helpful coaching on improving margins, and started thinking through those pillars of value where we could give her a packet that was ready. And then we introduced her to Joe's team over at Quiet Light. And I got to tell you guys, these guys took, our little financial coaching and our great bookkeeping efforts and just really dialed it in. What's it like to go to market next month? How do you get it to where the buyers have as little anxiety as possible? She fielded a ton of offers, had a great exit, and was very, very happy with the experience. So let's kind of think about this. I know I want to exit. I'm going to get some help to get things tidied. I'm going to make the changes. She had to control expenses. She had to optimize a few things in her catalog around maximizing the actual margin that she was getting. But then when it was time to go to market, she was able to capture a ton of margin and a ton of profit in the form of the exit sale. Second story, not quite as happy. Jim, another seller accountant client, a few years ago, he had great books, of course. He had great quality products, but he didn't want to pay the broker fee. He was like, listen, guys, aggregators are acquiring businesses left and right. Tyler, CFO team at Seller Account, I'm going to go directly to market. I'm going to go negotiate my own deal. By the way, he had even done the work with my team to determine what his number was. We had helped him think through, all right, what's my walkaway number? I need to have $4.5 million because that'll, after tax, allow me to keep this amount of money, which helps me accomplish my goals. And so fielded lots and lots of offers, Jim did, and actually got the number that he wanted, but didn't have the confidence to pull the trigger. He really didn't understand how the marketing and sale process went or was supposed to go. And so he passed on an offer that actually ended up being probably the right offer for him to take. The market kind of, as a lot of you guys experienced, a few months later in 2021, the market really took a turn in his category. And he did end up selling, had a very successful exit once he finally did decide to bring a broker onto his team. But he did not get the value that he was initially hoping to get. And what's crazy is that value was actually promised to him in a deal. Now, here's the thing. Hiring Joe's team at Quiet Light or any other great broker out there isn't going to mitigate against the timing of the market, right? If you're having FOMO, let me just say this, CFO advice. If you know your number, if Tyler, if I knew right now that if somebody gave me $10 million, that's my walkaway price for seller accountant, and you come to me tomorrow and you offer me $10 million for this company, I need to have the discipline to pull the trigger because I know what my objective is and I've accomplished that objective. Always be an investor in your business. That's just kind of a side piece of advice here. But at the end of the day, just having good counsel and being disciplined, you still might mistime the market. I will say this though, having a quality team in your corner, and not just like, listen, we were doing the bookkeeping. The back end documentation was good, but having someone to walk you through the process and help you not just field a ton of offers, but negotiate those terms. Remember that nugget that I said where the terms of the deal structure is almost as important as the amount. Getting paid more up front, where you're not having to try to go to court and fight for the money on the back end, especially when some of these aggregator investors ended up in some cash trouble. And really, I've had several friends, one that's a really close friend of mine that almost had to sue one of these aggregators to get the final $100,000 or whatever it was on the deal because they weren't going to pay him. And so just know, having good representation can help you make sure you've got your contract solid, so if you do run into issues, you can solve it. So here's one next level hack, and then we'll close this episode. I just want to say this. If you think you might go to market in 2 years, great, because right now is a terrible time to go to market. But the next level hack, and this is a little bit of a weird one, is right now, 2023 is when you can generate enterprise value for yourself that will make all of the difference in the future. And again, you need to look at all the brokers out there. Joe Valley's team over at Quiet Light is a very good team. Would definitely recommend checking them out. If you're looking for the pillars of how to understand what builds enterprise value, this book by Joe, the Exitpreneurs Playbook, is a really nice effort. I definitely recommend giving it a read because it'll at least give you the categories of things you should focus on. But here's the next level hack. Change your mindset. This isn't a crap market right now. It is not a crap market. This is the exact market that you and I need to generate game-changing generational wealth for our families, because everybody wins in a bull market. You can't screw it up. If you were selling anything that wasn't like travel products during the pandemic as an e-commerce brand, there were 3 or 4 categories that struggled, but most of our categories that we supported here at Seller Accountant had unbelievable 2020 and 2021, at least the first half of it. And then you got into 2022 and things got a lot harder. And so you end up scrubbing out some of the competition that can't keep up. Now you and I, listener, have the opportunity to go in hard while things are a little bit more challenging, so that when the sun comes out again here in a year or so for the capital markets, we'll be ready to partner with someone like Joe Valley and get maximum exit. So I just want to give you that encouragement. Thank you again for listening to this series. Should have one more episode on summer school, and then we'll dive back into our normal Return on Podcast episodes. Have a fantastic week. Cheers.